I want to build my no code app, but I just don't have time. This is something we hear a lot, and it's totally understandable. If you are stepping into the no code space because you want to launch an app based business, or maybe you want to scale your existing business with the use of an app, that means you probably already have a full time job or a business to run. You have a life, maybe you have a family, all vying for your time. And that can make it tough to move forward even when it's with something you really want to do, you really want to accomplish. So if you are aiming to build, launch, and scale an application, but you just don't feel like you have the time to do it, this is the video for you because we're going to talk about a handful of ways to help you move forward with your application faster. Now, if you don't really care how quickly you build or launch your app, then this video isn't necessarily for you. And that's okay. It's okay if you're not trying to build and launch quickly. You might still find help or value from this video, but this is really aimed towards people who are wanting to compress that overall development and launch timeframe so that they can get up and running and gain traction with their app sooner and faster. So if that's what you're after, then make sure you stick around all the way until the end because again, we're going to go through a handful of ways to help you move more efficiently. And I'm going to save my favorite until the end. Now, first, if you are new around here, my name is Kristen and I'm the co-founder of Coaching No Code Apps, where we help business owners and industry experts build custom apps to either start their app-based businesses or grow their existing businesses all without coding and no technical background required. So, how can you compress that development launch timeframe so that you can reach the point of scaling a whole lot faster? Well, the first thing that I want you to understand is that you are already taking a step in the right direction by using no code tools. No code tools are going to help you go a lot faster, but there is a little bit of variation between the different types of tools that you use. Some of them are still going to take a little bit longer for you to get your app up and running on. Others are going to be faster. What you use depends on your needs at the end of the day. If you're building a really simple application, you don't need much customization, you don't need much control over not just what you're building, but also how you're building it or how the processes are working. If you don't need much control over that, you can use a really basic app development platform that just gets you up and running on templates really quickly. And if that's all you need, then go for that. That's going to help you move a lot faster. Now, if you do need more control over your application, over what you're building, and also how you are building it. In other words, you want to control how the different processes run in your app. If you want a really high level of customization, if you're building out more complex processes, if you're building a more robust app that you want to grow and scale long term, and again, just have a lot of control over, well, it's going to take you a little bit longer because you're going to have to use a no code app development platform that supports that type of application. Now, we like to use Bubble with our clients, bubble.io, because it is very robust. It does support that type of app, but it's going to take you a little bit longer to get up and running, especially if you're coming into this starting from scratch, if you don't have prior knowledge. Now, that's okay. You can still do it. But really, what I'm getting at here is that you need to make sure you're setting the right expectations. So, if you want to move quickly, you first need to make sure that you are using a platform that's going to support what you need. And you are, if you need more, you need to set the right expectations. That's essentially it. Because sometimes people will come into this thinking, I can build and launch this robust, complex, scalable application in 2 weeks. And that would potentially be a reality if you're building something really, really simple on a really simple platform. But again, if you need that robust complexity, it's going to take you a little bit longer. So come into it with the right expectations. And that will at least help you move forward knowing what to expect, which is going to help you build traction early on. So the next thing, and with this one, I'm admittedly totally biased because we help people build and launch their applications every single day. That's what we do. But if you want to move more quickly, then invest in help. This is something that can be life changing and business changing if it's a direction you want to go in. I'm speaking to that from personal experience with our own business. It has grown the fastest and the most, and we produce the best results for our clients when we're investing in help, because there are other people out there who have gone before you, who have done what you are wanting to do, who have guided others through doing what you are wanting to do many, 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 many times before. And that means that those people can help you navigate the process, to help you make sure you're doing everything you need to be doing, to help you make sure you're avoiding things that you don't need to be doing, going around all the obstacles, all of those types of things. If you really want to move quickly, if that's a priority for you, invest in someone to help you, or invest in help. And this will depend on your priorities, your budget. Maybe investing for you is something on the smaller end and you are taking a more DIY approach where you are investing in some training, for example. Or maybe you want to invest more in a more all-encompassing process and move even faster, and you want to work directly with someone. Our team, for example, works with a small group of entrepreneurs who are going from their idea stage to being able to start using and testing their complex, customized, scalable applications. And this is literally what we do every single day. And so there's all kinds of ways that you can invest in help for yourself. And it doesn't matter where on the spectrum that investment falls. That'll depend on what you yourself are comfortable with. But know that anything is going to help you move more quickly when you are working with people who have done exactly what you're trying to do before many, many times, right? So that is going to help you move a lot more quickly. Now, aside from that, you also need to follow a process. This is something that we talk about a lot. We are incredibly process driven. And it's because when you follow a process that works, it's something that you can replicate again and again and again. And if that process works, then it's going to work the next time and the next time and the next time. So there are all types of different processes that you can follow. Again, you're going to have easier access to things like these if you are able to invest in that help, but you can also create your own processes if you need to do that. That's okay. You'll just have to get a little creative. We've gone over tons of different processes in lots of videos on our channel that you can use, processes to create an overarching roadmap for your development and launch, processes for moving into testing phases, processes for getting feedback, processes for all kinds of things. Now, if you do that, you can think of it like planning. You're just planning and you're following a plan rather than moving forward like you have a blindfold on. Moving forward with a blindfold isn't going to be fast. It's going to be really slow and really messy. So follow a process, follow a plan, and you're going to move a lot more efficiently through your development, through your launch, and ultimately into the stages where you're now scaling your app and your business. So follow a process. Now, to kind of build on that, I really want to dig in a little bit further. Find ways to make these processes easier too. And again, this is going to be easier if you are able to invest in help, because obviously you're going to have easier access to these things that way, but you don't have to do that. So, ways to make these processes easier: use templates, use checklists, use really simplified things to help you through these processes more easily. It sounds really simple because it is. But if astronauts and surgeons swear by checklists, something as simple as a checklist, then so should you. Now, how can you find these things? Well, again, we have lots of videos on our channel that will help you through these processes. We also have training on our website where we walk through broken down steps of the processes with graphs and charts and all of these visuals to help you more succinctly and more quickly get these things up and running. If you head to coachingnocodeapps.com/workshop, we have a free training where we'll guide you through in depth a process to create a roadmap for your application's development. And so it's not only incredibly helpful to have that process that you can follow, to have that plan, to know that you're moving forward with some direction, but when you can now start breaking it down and following something step by step and being guided through it, then that's only going to expedite this even more for you. And so, again, we have lots of videos in here. If you head over to our site, you can join that free training that's there to help you move forward more quickly. And of course, that's not all that's out there. Those are just some examples of how you can use things like this to help you move faster. Okay, so next up, this is a really big one. Stop obsessing over the aesthetic design of your application. Now, if you have already launched your app, you have users on board, the app is growing, it's scaling, yes, by all means, refine the design, enhance the user experience, enhance the usability. If you haven't launched your app yet, not even your first version, if you're still in development, you don't have any test users on board, or even if you do have test users, stop obsessing over your app's design. The approach that we take and that we guide our clients through is to focus on functionality first. I call this the triple F approach: focus on functionality first. Because unless you have an app that does what you need it to do, that performs well, and that is scalable, the design doesn't really matter. And I'm talking about the aesthetic design. So adding in sleek design, sleek front end designs, making it look fancy, making it look pretty. That's what I'm talking about there. None of that matters if you're not solving the core problem that your app is being created to solve from a functional standpoint. Your app has to be able to do the thing that it's being created to do, and it has to be able to do it well. And until you can do that, and until you know that you are doing that, then you're wasting a lot of time by obsessing over design. And I say this in the most caring way possible because I totally get it. I totally get it. It's really hard to imagine yourself putting your app into users' hands when it doesn't look as fancy and sleek and pretty as you want it to. But the reality is, you need to start getting feedback. You need to start getting feedback on the app. It happens in a couple of different ways. Again, we have videos on this, and so I won't go too in depth here, but you need to make sure that you are focusing on the right things at the right time in the right order. That starts with functionality. It starts with making sure that you are solving that core problem that the app is being created to solve, and you're solving it well, and you can refine the design from there. But in the beginning, you really just want to make your app usable. This is still design. It's just focused on usability, making sure that users can actually interact with and use the app. You can enhance it down the road. That's going to help you move so much faster. I mean, so much faster. You can tell that I'm really passionate about this because I see it tripping a lot of people up. You can move a lot more quickly if you focus on the right things at the right time. Okay, so the next thing is follow a soft launch approach. This is what we do. You can have what's called a hard launch or what's called a soft launch. A hard launch is kind of like a grand opening. You've seen stores where they're having a grand opening next weekend and there are a bunch of balloons and a bunch of signs. You're getting mail, physical mail about the grand opening. You're getting emails, you're seeing commercials, all the things, right? It's a grand opening. That's kind of like a hard launch where you build up a bunch of buzz and you build up a bunch of chatter around this launch. And it's like an official, you are in development and now all of a sudden you are just out there full force and all of that. And that's fine. That can certainly work. But we have found that what works a lot better for the type of person who we work with. So the type of person who is probably a solopreneur, or maybe they just have a small team, or maybe they have a consultancy and they're building an application, or maybe they have their own career and they're building an application that's related to something they do. In other words, the type of person who doesn't necessarily have all day, every day to spend on this. For that type of person, what we've found works better is taking a soft launch approach. And this is where you launch without all the massive buzz and you launch in waves. And that starts with your testing. And again, we have videos about this, about the different testing phases that you can go through. It starts with testing that functionality of your app. And then it moves into testing the adoption of your app. And then it moves into rolling out different versions of your app and expanding in waves of users. And so you don't have this one big launch that you build up to. You have lots of smaller launches that help you move forward in a more data-driven way than putting a ton of time and effort into this hard launch and potentially not getting any traction on the other side. With a soft launch approach, you build up the traction a little bit more slowly, but and I know this sounds kind of counterintuitive, but by launching in a softer way or in smaller waves, you can actually start building up the traction sooner. So the amount of traction might be slightly smaller, but it starts earlier on. And so as you go, you just continue building it up, if that makes sense. So we take this soft launch approach. And again, for the type of person who hopefully this video is helpful for, then that is the type of approach that you should look into as well, because it's going to enable you to actually start rolling out your app, to actually start putting it into users' hands without having to orchestrate this massive launch that you're probably never going to have time for. So consider using this soft launch approach as you move forward. Now, I want to talk through one more tip. Really, this is just a way for you to look at the way you're spending your time. This is my favorite because this is something that I have learned and that has genuinely changed my life and the way I do business. And that is really just doing a gut check with yourself and being honest. Do you just not have time, or is it just that this is not a priority for you right now? It's okay if this isn't a priority for you right now. You just need to be honest with yourself. Not everything can be the priority all at once. And so if you have these other things going on that are of a higher priority, then you just need to be honest with yourself. Something that I like to do, and I've talked about this before, but instead of saying or thinking, I don't have time to build my app, or I don't have time to whatever, just flip it and start saying, I haven't done X, or I haven't built my app because it's not a priority. It's it's the reality. It's a little bit of tough love, but that's what you have to do sometimes to be realistic with yourself and make sure that you know you're looking at this in the most helpful way for you, for yourself. There are tons of things that you can do to prioritize building and launching your app, even if you have other things going on in your life. But you have to decide first for yourself whether or not it's a priority for you. Because if it's not a priority, then there's always going to be something else going on for you. You're always going to have that next client. You're always going to have that next project. You're always going to have work. You're always going to have all these things, always. So you're never actually going to build and launch and grow this app-based business or grow your existing business until you decide that building your app is one of those priorities. Now, once it is, then you can start planning around that. And I'm speaking from a standpoint of being really tactical, or rather, I'm taking a tactical outlook on this. When you have priorities for yourself, then you start to plan your day around them, right? Right now, if you're not having time to build and launch your app, you are focusing on other things throughout your day. And those are your priorities. So if your app is one of those things, then you will focus on that. But you have to make it happen. It's not just gonna, magically happen, unfortunately. That would be great, but it's just not the reality. So ask yourself, do you not have time, or is it just not a priority? It's okay. I'm not shaming you if it's not a priority, because again, not everything can be. But just be real with yourself so that when the time comes, if it's now, that's great. If it's a little bit later, okay. But when the time comes, you can say to yourself, okay, now this is a priority. Now I'm going to circle back and focus on all these other things to help me move forward quickly now that it is a priority. When you do all these things together, you're going to move so much more quickly. And even if you don't have all the time in the world, that's okay. You don't need all the time in the world, because we see clients doing this every single day, right? Our clients are the type of people who have full-time jobs. They have businesses that they're running. They have lives, they have families, they have, all the things. And they have decided to make their app one of their priorities. And in doing so, they're able to focus on that when needed. And that is not all day, every day, and that's okay. But by taking all these other things and doing those things too, they're able to compress what takes a lot of people a year or more. Even in the no code space, they're able to compress that into just a few months and come out on the other end with something that, now they can start growing their business, or now they can implement this into their business processes or whatever they are building their app for. So if that sounds like you too, if you are that type of person who has a lot going on, but you do want to make your app a priority and you do want to move more quickly, if you would like our help, we'd be happy to talk more. The processes, or the things that we've gone over today, are a lot of the processes that we use ourselves, certainly in our own business, but also with our clients. And so if you'd like to see if we can help you too, we'd love to talk more. You can head to coachingnocodeapps.com/apply. And you can schedule a free strategy call. You'll fill out a form with some information so that we can see what your goals are and to make sure we can help you. And then we will start the conversation from there. So you can head to coachingnocodeapps.com/apply. And we'll talk soon. All right. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.